Now we're going to look at vocabulary related to essays and reports. The first word is albeit. Albeit. This is a conjunction. Albeit simply means although. A usage tip. You cannot always use albeit and although interchangeably. Albeit cannot introduce a clause. A clause is a phrase with a subject and a verb. Let's look at some examples to compare although and albeit. Both although and albeit are possible here. Ethel accepted the invitation, although with some hesitation. Ethel accepted the invitation, albeit with some hesitation. Frank's French is improving, although rather slowly. Frank's French is improving, albeit rather slowly. We had a nice, although short, break. We had a nice, albeit short, break. You cannot use albeit in these sentences. Ethel accepted the invitation, although she didn't want to. That's correct. But you cannot say, Ethel accepted the invitation, albeit she didn't want to. Frank's French is improving, although he never studies. That's correct. But you can't say, Frank's French is improving, albeit he never studies. Albeit cannot introduce a clause. The next word is clarify. Clarify. It's a verb. It means to make something clearer or easier to understand. Let's see the word family. First we have clarification, which is a noun. That means the act or process of clarifying something. Then we have the adjective clear and the adverb clearly. I'm sure you know those ones. And then we have the noun clarity, which is the quality of being clear. Could you please clarify your statement by adding more details? The employees are unhappy and confused. We need to clarify the situation before the problem escalates. Here, escalate means to get worse or more intense. I hope this explanation will clarify some things. Now we have the verb convey. Convey. To convey means to communicate an idea, feeling, or thought, with or without words. The noun is conveyor. A conveyor is a person or thing that conveys something. Here are some collocations. To convey information. To convey a feeling. To convey an idea. To convey a message. To clearly convey. And to effectively convey. You need to be careful about what you wear to a job interview, because our clothes can convey a certain image. The painting conveys feelings of sadness and nostalgia. Please convey my apologies to your friend. That's a formal way of saying, please apologize to your friend for me. Next we have excerpt. Excerpt. It's a countable noun. An excerpt is a short piece taken from an article, book, movie, piece of music, etc. An extract. The verb is excerpt. To excerpt means to take a short piece from an article, book, movie, etc. I need to analyze an excerpt from one of Shakespeare's plays for my essay. They included a few excerpts from the novel in the article. This word is furthermore. Furthermore. It's an adverb. It means in addition to what has been said. It is often used to add a point to an argument. George always arrives on time. Furthermore, he's a hard worker. Concerts are often expensive, and furthermore, I don't like loud music. The Constitution was, furthermore, written during a different era. An era is a period of time. So someone might have been complaining about the Constitution and then adds that it was written at a time in the past. Now we have illustrate. Illustrate. It's a verb. It has a few meanings. Number one, to make the meaning of something clearer, especially by giving examples. Number two, to show that something is true or that something exists. Number three, to add pictures to something, especially a book or an article. Let's see the word family. First we have the noun illustration. That's the process of illustrating something, or a drawing or painting in a book or article. Next we have the noun illustrator. An illustrator is a person who draws or paints pictures for books, articles, etc. And finally we have the adjective illustrative. That means helping to explain something or make it clearer. Your essay is well written, but you should add some examples to illustrate your ideas. The recent accident illustrates the need for better quality roads. She both wrote and illustrated the book. That means she wrote the story and did the pictures. Next we have the verb imply. Imply. It has a couple of meanings. Number one, to suggest how you think or feel about something indirectly. Number two, to show that something is likely to be true or exist. The noun is implication. An implication is something that is suggested or said indirectly, or a possible effect or result of an action. A little usage tip. It is sometimes followed by that. For example, are you implying that my cat is fat? But yes, that is optional in that sentence, which is why I put it in parentheses. What do you think the author is trying to imply in that paragraph? Co-ownership, as the name implies, means the property will be shared by more than one person. Research implies that the disease originated in Europe. And now the verb infer. Infer. It means to form an opinion about whether something is true based on the information that you have. The noun is inference. An inference is something that is inferred, or the act of inferring. Here's a usage tip. Some people use infer instead of imply. So they would say, are you inferring that my cat is fat? Some dictionaries say that this is incorrect, and some say that it is acceptable. I don't have a strong opinion on this, but in an exam, I would not use these words interchangeably. Basically, we imply something by what we say. We infer something from what somebody else says or from other information. Inferring is about forming an opinion. From the evidence, the police inferred that he was responsible for both crimes. We can infer a lot of things from these statistics. Considering that Frank is tired and smells of beer, I think we can infer that he went out last night. This word is justify. Justify. It's a verb. It has a couple of meanings. Number one, to give an explanation or excuse for something. Number two, to be a good reason for something. Let's see the word family. First, we have the noun justification. That means a good reason why something exists or happens. Then we have the adjective justifiable, which means existing or done for a good reason. The adverb of that is justifiably. And finally, we have the adjective justified. That means having a good reason for doing something, or existing or happening for a good reason. When you write your essay, it's not enough to just state your arguments. You need to justify them. I don't know how they can justify spending that much money on a wedding. Finding something difficult does not justify cheating in an exam. That means that finding something difficult is not a good reason for cheating. Here's a usage tip. It can be used with a reflexive pronoun to justify oneself. If you justify yourself, you give an explanation or a reason for doing something. I often feel like I have to justify myself, even when I've done nothing wrong. Frank rarely feels the need to justify himself. Here's another usage tip. A common expression is, the end justifies the means. That means actions or methods that might be morally wrong are acceptable if the outcome is morally right or important. For example, some politicians believe that the end justifies the means, but many voters disagree. Now we have the verb paraphrase. Paraphrase. This means to express written or spoken language using different words, especially to make it shorter and or clearer. The noun is also paraphrase. A paraphrase is a statement that expresses spoken or written language using different words. You are allowed to paraphrase parts of other texts for your report, but you are not allowed to copy them word for word. Could you paraphrase what the speaker said? You don't need to include all the minor details. Now we have the verb plagiarize. Plagiarize. In British English, it's spelt with an S. To plagiarize means to use another person's words, work, or ideas in your own work and pretend that they are your own. Let's see the word family. First we have the noun plagiarism. That means the act of plagiarizing something, or something that has been plagiarized. There's also the noun plagiarist. A plagiarist is a person who plagiarizes. The professor suspected that the essay had been plagiarized. He was suspended from college after he got caught plagiarizing. Now we have the phrasal verb stand for. stand for. It has a couple of meanings. Number 1, to be an abbreviation or symbol for something. Number 2, to support or represent certain ideas or values. FAQ stands for frequently asked questions. What does the JRR stand for in J.R.R. Tolkien? The Libertarian Party is a US political party which stands for personal freedoms and low government intervention. And now the verb summarize. Summarize. In British spelling, it has an SE at the end. This means to give the main information about something in a short and clear form. The noun is summary. A summary is a short statement that gives the main information about something. The adjective is also summary, and that means giving only the main information of something. For my assignment, I need to summarize the article and then give my opinions about it. To summarize, the report shows how sugar consumption has risen. And now we have the phrasal verb sum something or somebody up. This is a separable phrasal verb. To sum up can mean to give a summary of something, to summarize, or to form an opinion about something or somebody. The last part of the report sums up all the major arguments. He summed it up very well. Ethel quickly summed up the situation and decided not to get involved. That means that she quickly formed an opinion about the situation. Next we have thereby. Thereby. It's an adverb. It means as a result of this action. By doing this. Here's a usage tip. It is often followed by the ing form of a verb. For example, they changed suppliers, thereby saving the company millions of dollars. That means they changed suppliers, and by doing this, they saved the company millions of dollars. They identified the cause of the accident, thereby reducing the chance of similar accidents occurring in the future. You can also use it in a new sentence. For example, in the end, she signed the agreement. She thereby lost her right to take legal action. The final word for this section is whereas. Whereas. It's a conjunction. This conjunction is similar to but or although. It is used to compare and contrast ideas. George is very well behaved, whereas Frank often gets into trouble. My friend loves camping, whereas I can't think of anything worse. When someone says, I can't think of anything worse, obviously it's an exaggeration. For example, there are definitely worse things in the world than camping, but we use it to emphasize the fact that we don't like something. Here's a usage tip. Normally it introduces a second clause, like in the previous examples, but it is possible to start a sentence with it. For example, whereas the first study involved 400 patients, the second one only looked at half that number. So it can be at the beginning of a sentence or in the middle of a sentence. George needed to write a paper for his English literature class about an excerpt from a book. It was a short, albeit rather difficult, assignment. These were the instructions he received. In the first part of your essay, you need to summarize what the book and this particular excerpt are about. Then you need to answer the following questions. What sorts of feelings do you think the author is trying to convey in this excerpt? And furthermore, do you think she is trying to imply something about the main character? From this excerpt, can we infer what values the author stands for? Make sure you justify your answer with examples from the text. Try to choose examples that clearly illustrate your point of view. Remember that good examples can often help to clarify points for the reader. You may quote or paraphrase other sources if you like, but be careful not to plagiarize. Don't forget to sum up your arguments in the final paragraph. Whereas most essays of this kind are about 4 to 5 pages, the maximum length for this paper is 2 pages. If you learn to limit yourself to fewer words, you will choose your words more carefully and thereby learn to write more concisely.